Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. You must never be fearful about what you are doing when it is right. With these words, welcome you all to ABS Creations by your educationalist Chandrakala. The only real prison is fear, and the only real freedom is freedom from fear. Stand up for what is right, even if it means standing alone. An educational channel with moral values. If you have not subscribed the channel, subscribe it to receive the notification. Thank you. In the previous video of Nationalism in India Part 2, we have discussed about the vision of Swaraj for various social groups in the non-corporation movement to achieve Swatantra Bharat. In this session, we will discuss towards civil disobedience and how and why it was launched. Here we go with the events which took place between 1922 to 1931. 1922, in the month of 5th February, call of non-cooperation movement due to Chauri Chaura incident took place. 1926, decline in agricultural prices. 1928, arrival of Simon Commission in India. In the month of October 1929, a vague offer Dominion status has been announced. In the month of 29th December 1929, demand for Purna Swaraj. 26 January 1930, Indian people celebrated the independence. In the month of 31st January 1930, Gandhiji wrote a letter to Viceroy Lord Irwin. 11th March 1930, civil disobedience campaign has been launched. In the month of 6th April 1930, beginning of civil disobedience. 23rd April 1930, Abdul Ghaffar Khan, a devotee of Gandhiji, has been arrested. 5th March 1931, an agreement or treaty has been signed between Gandhiji and Lord Irwin, came to be known as Gandhi-Irwin Pact. In the month of December, second roundtable conference has been organized at London. So as the non-corporation movement began in the month of January 1921, in the month of 5th February 1922, call of non-corporation movement took place due to the incident which took place at Chauri Chaura. In the month of 5th February 1922, at Chauri Chaura, a village in present-day Uttar Pradesh, a procession of about 3,000 peasants led by Congress workers was fired upon by the police. The angry peasants retaliated by attacking and burning down the police station. 22 policemen died. Mahatma Gandhi took a serious view of this incident. Mahatma Gandhi took a very serious view of this incident. So he decided to call off the non-cooperation movement. So Mahatma Gandhi decided to call off the non-cooperation movement in the month of 5th February 1922. As Mahatma Gandhi decided to call off the non-cooperation movement, what may be the reason behind it? The major reason is that the non-cooperation movement was turning violent in many places, and he also felt that Satyagrahis would be properly trained before they enter into the mass struggle. At this point of period, within the Congress, there was an intense tussle. After the withdrawal of the non-corporation movement, the Congress broke up into two main groups. In 1923, One group was led by C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru. They formed the Swaraj Party and they came to be known as the Swarajists. This group favored contesting elections and entering the Legislative Council according to the act set up by the Government of India Act of 1919. They thought that they could obstruct the working of the British government from within. They won a large number of seats in the Central Legislative Assembly in 1923. Another group of people within the Congress is a new group of young leaders which includes Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose. They were deeply influenced by the Russian Revolution of 1917 and the ideas of socialism. These group of people, they were called as extremists. The Swarajists were called as moderates who argued to return to Council of Politics, whereas the extremists Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose, they were called as extremists or radicals. So they wanted more radical mass agitation. They wanted more radical mass agitation and for full independence. These were the reasons for the calling of non-cooperation movement. In such a situation of internal debates and dissension, two factors they shaped the Indian politics again towards the late 1920s. What were the two factors? They were the worldwide economic depression and the Tory government. According to the worldwide economic depression, we already know that there was a lot of effect of the worldwide economic depression. It was seen in agricultural prices, fall in the agricultural prices. So agricultural prices began to fall from 1926 and it collapsed after 1930. So because of the fall in agricultural prices, there was no demand for agricultural goods. There were no demand for agricultural goods. As the demand for agricultural goods started falling, even the exports started declining. Even the exports started declining. And the peasants found it very difficult to sell their harvest. As their harvest was not sold, they were not able to pay the revenue to the government. They were not able to pay the revenue to the government. By the year 1930, the entire countryside was under turmoil. The entire countryside was in turmoil. These were the effects of the worldwide economic depression which shaped the Indian politics. The another factor which shaped the Indian politics is the Tory government. First of all, what do you mean by the word Tory government? It is a government based on British version of traditionalism and conservatism which upholds the supremacy of social order. So this new Tory government in Britain constituted a statutory commission under Sir John Simon. Tory government, the new Tory government in Britain, it constituted a statutory commission under Sir John Simon. So what is the main objective of this statutory commission is that they will look after the functioning of the constitutional system in India. They will look after the function of the constitutional system in India and suggest changes. The main problem of this statutory commission is that no member was an Indian member. No member in that commission was an Indian member. All members, 7 members were there in the statutory commission under Sir John Simon. All were Britishers, but not even a single member was an Indian. So, when the statutory commission under Sir John Simon arrived in India in the year 1928, so these Simon Commission was greeted by all parties, Congress, Muslim League people with a slogan called by the name as Go Back Simon. So when the Simon Commission arrived in India in the year 1928, the Simon Commission was greeted by all participants all parties including Congress, Muslim League, Common People, Satyagrahis, etc. by a slogan called by the name as Go Back Simon. Go Back Simon. So this movement started becoming very famous at this particular point of time. In an effort to win them over, the Viceroy Lord Irwin, in the month of October 1929, he offered a vague offer of dominion status. So when the Simon Commission was greeted with the slogan Go Back Simon, and more number of people participated in the demonstration in an effort to win over them, the Viceroy Lord Irwin, in the month of October 1929, he announced a vague offer of a dominion status. A vague offer of dominion status for India in an unspecified manner. First of all, what do you mean by a dominion status? That is a self-government within the British Empire. Self-government within the British Empire. Dominion status is that self-government within the British Empire. And a first round table conference, it has to be discussed for a future constitution. So in the month of October 1929, Lord Irwin, who was acting as a Viceroy of India, he offered a vague offer of dominion status. Dominion status is nothing but self-government within the British Empire, and a roundtable conference to discuss a future constitution of India. So this did not satisfy this dominion status, and the offer announced by Lord Irwin was not satisfied. So this did not satisfy the Congress leaders. At this particular period of time, the radicals within the Congress, which was led by Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and Jawaharlal Nehru, they become more assertive. Whereas the liberals or otherwise moderates, they lost their influence within the framework of the British dominion. They lost their influence within the framework of British dominion. So in the month of December 1929, at Lahore, the Congress session under the presidency of Jawaharlal Nehru took place, and in this Lahore Congress session, they formalized the full independence for India, that is Purna Swaraj. They formalized the demand of Purna Swaraj or full independence for India. So in the month of 26 January 1930, it was declared to be celebrated as the Independence Day. It was declared that 26 January 1930, it would be celebrated as the Independence Day, when the people were to take a pledge to struggle for complete independence. People were to take a pledge to struggle for complete independence. But the celebrations attracted very little attention. So Mahatma Gandhi had to find a way to relate this abstract idea of freedom to more concrete issues of everyday life. Mahatma Gandhi found a way to relate this abstract idea of freedom to more concrete issues of everyday life. It is that salt, a powerful symbol. Mahatma Gandhi found in salt a powerful symbol that could unite the nation. On 31st January 1930, Mahatma Gandhi wrote a letter to Lord Irwin, who was a Viceroy of India, stating 11 demands. The demand was on general interest, as well as specific interest. The specific demand ranges from industrialist people to the peasants. Specific demand range from industrialist to peasant. The idea was to make the demands wide ranging so that all classes, from the rich group of people to the poor group of people, or from the industrialist to the peasant, they could be brought together in a united campaign. The most stirring of all demand was that to abolish salt tax. The most stirring demand of all was to abolish the salt tax. Salt was something consumed by the rich and the poor alike, and it was one of the most essential items of food. So, the tax on the salt and the government monopoly over its production, Mahatma Gandhi finally declared, revealed the most oppressive phase of British rule. Most oppressive phase of British rule. So Mahatma Gandhi letter to Viceroy was in a way an ultimatum. Mahatma Gandhi's letter was in a way an ultimatum. What do you mean by the word ultimatum? It is nothing but a final threat. A final threat. If the demands were not fulfilled by 11th March 1930, the Gandhiji's letter, which was an ultimatum, states that if the demands was not fulfilled by 11th March 1930, the Congress would launch a civil disobedience campaign. The Congress would launch a civil disobedience campaign. But Lord Irwin, he never negotiated their demands. He was unwilling to negotiate their demands. So Mahatma Gandhi, he decided to launch a civil disobedience campaign. So he started his famous historical march called by the name as Dandi March or Salt March. So he started his famous Salt March, which was accompanied by 78 of his trusted followers or volunteers. The march was over 240 miles from Sabarmati Ashram, that is Gandhiji's ashram at Sabarmati, to the coastal town of Gujarat, that is Dandi. So from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi. From Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi. So he travelled for over 240 miles with his 78 trusted followers. When he walked for 24 days in a complete manner, for each day he travelled for about 10 miles. Following Gandhi, thousands came to join with the march, and in the month of 6th April 1930, he reached Dandi with many thousands of followers, and there he ceremonially violated the salt. That is, he manufactured salt by boiling seawater. He violated the salt law by manufacturing the salt by boiling the seawater. This march came to be known as Salt March or Dandi March and is the beginning of civil disobedience movement. So how this movement, civil disobedience movement, was different from that of non-cooperation movement. How the civil disobedience movement was different from that of non-cooperation movement. After the beginning of civil disobedience movement, people were not only asked to refuse cooperation with Britishers, but they were asked to disobey the British rules. They were asked to disobey the British law. Thousands in different parts of our country started violating the salt law by manufacturing the salt by boiling seawater. First, previously in the non-cooperation movement, they were refusing only to cooperate with the Britishers. But after the civil disobedience movement has been launched here, they were asked to disobey the British law. So thousands in different parts of the country violated the salt law by manufacturing the salt by boiling seawater. As movement started spreading, again people started boycotting the foreign goods, schools, colleges, courts. Even the liquor shops were picketed. And the peasants, previously they were asking for relaxation of taxes, but now they refused to pay chakidari taxes. Previously the peasants were asking for relaxation of taxes, but now after the beginning of the civil disobedience movement, they refused to pay chakudari taxes. What do you mean by the word chakudari taxes? It is a kind of tax which was collected. It is a kind of tax which was collected from farmers in the period of 1907. The Secretary of the State collected the taxes from the farmers for the compensation of village watchmen. The Secretary of the State collected the tax from the farmers for the compensation of village watchmen who was acting as a kind of police. So, it affected the poor farmers during that particular period. But after the launch of civil disobedience movement, the peasants refused to pay chakudari taxes. And the village officials, they also resigned. And many places, forest people violated the forest law. So we have seen an example of the tribal peasants. Tribal peasants in the Gudam hills of Andhra Pradesh, they were not allowed to enter into their forest area even for grazing and collecting the fuel wood. But after the launch of the civil disobedience movement, the forest people, they violated the forest law, entering the reserved forest also to collect wood and graze cattle. Worried by this development, civil disobedience movement development, the colonial government, they began arresting the Congress leaders one by one. Worried by the developments of the Indian people after the launch of the civil disobedience movement, the colonial government started arresting the Congress leaders one by one. So as the Congress leaders arrested one by one, it was led to a violent clashes in many places. So in the month of April 1930, when Abdul Ghaffar Khan, a devout disciple of Mahatma Gandhi, when he was arrested, angry crowds, they demonstrated in the streets of Peshawar. So angry crowds, they demonstrated in the streets of Peshawar. They were facing the armed cars and police firing. So in such cases, when they were facing the armed cars and the police firing, many have been killed, many were killed. And a month later, when Mahatma Gandhi himself was arrested, automatically the protest was shown or started by the industrial workers in Sholapur, attacking police posts, municipal buildings, law courts, and even railway stations. All the structures which has a symbol of British rule, everything has been attacked by the protesters when Mahatma Gandhi was arrested. So the British government, they got frightened and they responded with a brutal repression. They responded with a brutal repression against the Satyagrahis. So even the women and the children were beaten. Even the women and the children were beaten. And nearly about 1 lakh people were arrested, and nearly around 1 lakh people were arrested. As the British government started showing the brutal repression against satyagrahis, women, children, and common people, arrest of common people, Mahatma Gandhi decided to call off the civil disobedience movement. Mahatma Gandhi decided to call off the movement, and he decided to enter into a pact with Lord Irwin in the month of 5th March 1931. So that pact came to be known as Gandhi-Irwin Pact. So 5th March 1931, a treaty has been signed between Mahatma Gandhi and Lord Irwin. The reason is that peaceful satyagrahis were attacked, women and children were beaten, and about 1 lakh people were arrested. So Mahatma Gandhi decided to call off the civil disobedience movement and to enter into a pact with Lord Irwin on 5th March 1931. By this Gandhi-Irwin Pact, Gandhiji consented to participate in the Second Round Table Conference in London. So the government, when Mahatma Gandhi had a treaty with Lord Irwin, it was agreed to release, the government agreed to release the political prisoners. The government agreed to release the political prisoners. But in December 1931, when Gandhiji attended the Round Table Conference, all these negotiations which has been signed between Mahatma Gandhi and Lord Irwin under Gandhi-Irwin Pact was broken down, and Mahatma Gandhi returned to India disappointed. Mahatma Gandhi returned to India disappointed. When he returned back to India, he saw and he discovered a new cycle of repression. That is, again, Ghaffar Khan, Jawaharlal Nehru were both in jail, and even the Congress was declared illegal. The Congress was declared illegal, and a serious repressions were organized by the British to stop the protesters by demonstrating and boycott. So by seeing this condition of political prisoners, by seeing the condition of the British government against the satyagrahis, against the political leaders, Gandhiji decided to relaunch the civil disobedience movement. Gandhiji decided to relaunch the civil disobedience movement, but over a year the movement continued. By the year 1934, this civil disobedience movement lost its importance or lost its momentum by 1934. So this act came to be known as Gandhi-Irwin Pact. So map points based on this concept: call of non-corporation movement. It took place at Chauri Chaura in year 1922. Congress session in December 1929 at Lahore. Salt March 1930, Dandi, which came to be known as beginning of civil disobedience movement. These are the most important three map points. Call of non-corporation movement, which took place in the month of February 1922. It is at Chauri Chaura. Congress session in December 1929 at Lahore for Purna Swaraj. Salt March Dandi, abolish short law, beginning of civil disobedience movement in 1930. Listen to these concepts clearly and go through these questions and test yourself. Why did Mahatma Gandhi decided to call off the non-cooperation movement? How was Simon Commission greeted when it came to India? Explain the Salt March or the beginning of the civil disobedience movement. How civil disobedience movement is different from that of the non-cooperation movement. Reason out the call of civil disobedience movement. Briefly explain the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. For your reference and to view the nationalism in India part 1 and part 2, a link is given below in the description box. Utilize this link to go through the concepts of nationalism in India 1 and 2. So if you like this video, you can comment it, you can share it, and you can subscribe it. Thanks for watching. Thank you.